Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to quarterfinals action of the Super Bowl winners, losers, and friends tourney. To get in this tournament, you have to be a Super Bowl champion or loser, or a runner-up. So that's 118 teams, 59 Super Bowls times two. You have to, and then we added 10 more teams to make it 120 and make it a good tournament. So we added two teams from leagues that did not really correspond with the NFL, and those spots went to the 1948 Cleveland Browns of the AAFC before it folded for the NFL, and it also the 1999 Rhein Fire from NFL Europe. We had two AFL teams from the 1960s that didn't make the Super Bowl or were big stars in the pre-Super Bowl era. Two teams from different decades. The 30s and the 40s got to add an NFL champion, and they did. The 33 Bears, one of the quarterfinalists, not today, they'll play tomorrow, are going to be and the 1940s champs were the 48 Eagles, if memory serves me right. And then came the four franchises that don't have a team in the Super Bowl: Detroit, Cleveland, Jacksonville, and Houston. Detroit, I put the 57 team the last time they had great success, although I could have easily put the 2024 Lions in because they got to the conference finals. I could have, yeah. For Houston, I put the 2019 Texans, the team that won a wild card against the Buffalo Bills, and then lost to the Chiefs, even though they were up by like 20 points early. Um, Cleveland, the 1964 team was added the last NFL championship, although I could have added any of the Closart, your 86 or 87 Browns, and also Jacksonville. I put the 99 team in because they beat Miami in the biggest blowout in playoff history. Well, in the Super Bowl era, 62-7. They crushed Miami. They put Dan Marino and Jimmy Johnson in retirement, and also they hosted the Titans and fell for the third time to the Titans. They lost once in the AFC title game and twice in the regular season to them. The Titans were basically Jacksonville's Spain. But we're down to the final eight. We have one, two, three, four, five, six Super Bowl champions. Six of the eight teams are Super Bowl champions. The 1970 Cowboys are not. They are the Super Bowl five runners up, and the 1933 Bears technically didn't play in the Super Bowl, although they probably would have been in. So yeah, seven out of eight teams are champions. The 70 Cowboys are the lone wolf. Ooh. Anyway, we have two games for you today. That's the 07 Pats against the 16 Falcons and the 89 Giants. I always say that was San Francisco. The 89 Niners taking on the Cowboys from 1970. Tomorrow we'll have the 90 Giants against the 33 Bears and the 84 Niners against the 73 Dolphins. There was kind of a purpose to how the schedule was set because I can't have both San Francisco teams on the same day because Joe Montana quarterbacks for both of them. So I put the San Fran Dallas one today and the San Fran Miami one tomorrow. Now let's take a look at the eight teams for early. The 07 Pats. They're third in points, second in total yards, second in passing yards, eighth in rushing yards as of this round. 4-0. They've won twice at home, twice on the road. They beat the 93 Bills, the team that went to the Super Bowl for the fourth time, straight time, 31-21. They beat the 82 Dolphins in Miami, the team that lost Super Bowl 17 by a score of 30-27, a close one. And then they hosted the 77 Cowboys that won Super Bowl 12 and beat them 34-24. And then they beat their rivals, the 85 Pats, 24-22 in a close one, in which the 85 Pats needed 2 points to win the game. So yeah, they've been involved in some very tight games. Atlanta, on the other hand, they're second in points. They lead total yards and passing yards, and the rushing attack doesn't work. But yeah, they're passing. So you have the top two teams in yards and passing yards facing each other today. The Falcons have only had one road game, and that was the 69 Vikings. They beat the Super Bowl 4 runner-up 30-27. Then they beat the seemingly perfect 72 Dolphins by a score of 35-17. Then they beat the 86 Broncos that lost to Phil Simms' passing attack 30-17, and then beat the 70 Baltimore Colts who won Super Bowl 5 32-22. So they've been crushing their opponents. 89 Niners, they are 10th in points, 4th in total yards, 9th in passing yards, 3rd in rushing yards. So yeah, they're 10th in points even though there are 8 teams left. They've had 2 home games, 2 road games. On the road, they took out Tom Brady and the 2002 Pats 23-18, a close one. Then they hosted the 77 Broncos, Super Bowl 12 runners-up, winning 13-3. Then they nipped the 05 Steelers, who won Super Bowl 40, 31-28. And then they beat the 66 Chiefs, who were the first Super Bowl runner-up, 31-24. They take on Dallas, who are 13th in points, 22nd in total yards, 45th in passing, 5th in rushing. So basically, they run the ball. Staubach can't throw the ball, which is weird. 2 home games, 2 road games. They went to Oakland to take on the 76 Oakland squad, the Super Bowl 11 champions, 17-10. Then they beat the 67 Raiders, who were Super Bowl II runners-up, 31-22. Then they beat the 2013 Broncos, who lost that big Super Bowl to the Seahawks, 31-28. And then they hosted the 2001 Rams, the Greatest Show on Turf, Part 2, and won 17-10. So, yeah, points, they're just... Yeah, passing yards, they just don't run. They run more. The 90 Giants, they're 20th in points, 19th in total yards, 19th in passing, 17th in rushing. So they've done quite well. 20th. Yeah, they're not really, and they're like wide in the quarterfinals. Well, they've had every game the Giants have played have been 7 points or fewer. They've played only one home game, and that was against the 2015 Broncos in round 2, beating the Super Bowl 50 champions 23-20. They went to New England to take on Brady in the 2004 Pats, 13-10. Then they beat the 71 Cowboys Super Bowl 6 winners, 28-21. And then they beat the 66 Packers last week, the Super Bowl 1 champs, 13-6. They're down Chicago Bears, 4th in points, 18th in total, 64th in passing, 2nd in rushing. Who has more rushing than them? I don't know. But yeah, they pass out of necessity. They've never sacked anyone. 2 wins at home, 2 on the road. On home turf, they hosted the 2011 Giants, who won Super Bowl 46. 37-6, crushed them. Then they crushed their mates, the 06 Bears, 38-17. Then they went to Tampa and beat the Bucks, the seemingly perfect Bucks defense, 17-0. And then they went to face the Jets and the Super Bowl III champs and won 20-14. That game had to go to overtime. And the 84 Niners, that version, 6 in points, 6 in total yards, 6 in passing, and 9th in rushing. So, right in the middle, right? Only one road game, and that was the 86 Giants, but they'll be on the road again in Miami. They beat the 21 Rams, who were the Super Bowl runners, who won that Super Bowl, 34-20. They beat the 2017 Pats, who won over the Falcons, coming back from 28-3 down. They won 35-14 in that one. They took on the Ryan Fire, the NFL Europe guys, winning 14-6, and then they nipped the 86 Giants, 20-18. Nips. Doesn't impress. Anyway, Miami, they've only played one road game away from the Orange Bowl. They're 6th in points, 9th in total yards, 30th in passing. They're number 1 in rushing yards. The Bears are trailing the Miami Dolphins for rushing. The 73 Dolphins played the 73 Vikings in a Super Bowl 8 rematch, winning 17-10. Then they went to Philly to take out the 2005 Eagles with Teal, 38-13. Then they beat the 48 Browns from the AAFC 24-3. And then they beat the 2014 Seahawks, who were 1 yard short. And Marshawn Lynch should have ran the ball, 24-14. So now you know. All right, our first game is San Francisco versus Dallas. Kind of are accepting of this because of the fact that Kylie is now they have like a tandem. Trey Thomas starts at running back, Bob Hayes, Lance Renzel, Dennis Holman, as Iron Man particularly played for this Pretty Whiskey of playing 9, Dave Manners, right, and the Niners. Michael Brothers, Chris Holt, linebacker, Charles Haley, Matt Bowen, Tm Trny and Mike Walter. John Griffin, Chet Brooks, and Ronnie Lott. 7.5 years
First down. First down. First down. First down. First down. He's good.
Touchdown, Cowboys. Good.
First down.
Touchdown, Cowboys. Flag on the play.
Pass interference. Defense. First down.
Touchdown, 49ers. The extra point is no good.
Timeout. Offense.
Flag on the play.
Illegal use of hands. Offense.
Renzo would have had the first down.
Timeout. Offense.
It's good.
Let's go. 17-9 Cowboys. Gordon, 6 for 16, 60 yards. What? I'm on pace. Montana, 16 for 22 and 46 and a touchdown. The drives, San Francisco had 7 drives. Dallas had 9 drives. San Fran kept 6 for 19, 44 to 10, 34. Recap, as of right now, San Fran leads passing rush, command yards, return yards, penalties, they both got 1 sacks. No Cliff Harris for Dallas. That's huge.
First down. First down. First down. First down.
Flag on the play.
False start.
Offense.
Offense.
Touchdown, 49ers.
Second. Receiving team. First down. First down. First down. First down.
This is good.
First down.
Touchdown, 49ers.
Illegal use of hands. Offense.
The kick is good. Live on the play.
Holding. Offense. First down. First down.
Live on the play.
Holding.
Holding
Offense.
on the offense.
First down. Timeout offense. First down. Timeout defense. Timeout defense.
Flag on the play.
Kicking. Receiving team. First down.
Flag on the play.
Pass interference. Offense.
That's it. Dallas was up 19-17 in the half. Quick on the field goal and Norman to Hayes for a touchdown. And Hayes being 43. Montana to field goal. They missed the extra point card. After proving their field goal second pass, Montana to flag for a touchdown. Right between this, Kirk field goal. Make it 2015. They needed the points. Montana the race for a touchdown. After drives, Sanford 33-5 5 red zone trips. 3 touchdowns, a field goal, and this Dallas red zone trips to catch up with them. The recap: Will Roberts, Harris, Dallas, Harris, so San Fran wins 22-20. And now we got the nightcap, the big game between the Pats and the Falcons.
Flag on the play.
Personal foul. Defense. First down. First down.
Flag on the play.
Holding. Defense. First down. First down.
Oakland. Those Hawks, Ronnie Harrison, James Anderson, Asante Samuel.
First down. First down. Flag on the play.
Personal foul.
Defense. It's good. First down. First down. First down. First down. Flag on the play. Roughing the passer. Defense. Touchdown, Falcons. The extra point is good.
Fox is a great returner.
receiving team. First down. First down. Kick is good. First down.
Did so well in the 2008 season after bringing down first game that Kansas City beat the
First down. First down. First down. First down.
But 6 touchdowns against the Falcons. Falcons got nothing. Nada. Matt Ryan trying for 36, 311 defensive shot. The running game was unmatched. Julio Jones, 99 yards in the pitching went Whitley. Brady, 29 for 38, 342, 6 touchdowns. They put Matt Castle. Pass. Welker, 109, Grayson. Moss, 118. Just happened. 31-10, and then Matt Barnes. Brady to Welker for touchdown. Brady to Welker. Drives 5 runs in possessions. That's 5 touchdowns. Falcons 3 possessions. That's a touchdown. Pretty much means that it's a possession. It's close. Recap time. A lot of it. Sammy Morris. That's Tammy was unavailable for Atlanta, so not really much. Yeah, the Pats win 45-20. That's a critical loss for the Falcons because the Pats just knew how to throw the ball, and 6 touchdowns is humongous. I think that's a record. But yeah, we'll look at stuff later. But yeah, the 07 Pats and the 89 Niners win their games by on the road. Will it be the 90 Giants and the 84 Niners during them? And then we might have a controversy. If the 2 Montana teams do qualify and they don't play each other, well, if they don't play each other, then we're going to have one Saturday and one Sunday because of the situation. And if we do have Niners versus Niners, Young would have to start for the 89 team because at least he's there. But yeah, we don't know. Remember, everything's random. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond, dude.